Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Short-Term Rentals with the one and only Tijani. Thank you, TJ, for coming over today.
Welcome.
And today we're going to talk about, right now we're seeing a recession, and we have seen how quite a bit of different investment strategies are not what they used to be in the past.
Yeah.
What about short-term rentals? How have you seen the impact of recession within short-term rentals?
Absolutely. And when people are traveling, when they're traveling for leisure, you got to understand in times like this, people are going to spend less money on things they just want to do, meaning they just want to travel, maybe they're weekend traveler. So if one of your main demographics in your short-term rental business, one of your main avatars is a leisure traveler, is a weekend traveler, which a lot of listings are. A lot of listings only focused on the person that just want to travel for leisure, then it's likely you will start seeing an impact in your business. But in reality, for right now, what's happening is people are going to spend less money on things they just want to do, and they're going to only focus on things they need to do. And I think that that has heavily impacted a short-term rental route because of interest rates and inflation and whatnot. So now, as a short-term rental operator, something that you can do in your own business is also make that a very similar pivot, right? If your business now can more so focus on people who need to travel versus who just want to travel, then you can also make that adoption. And as a result, a lot of those folks tend to need to stay for longer periods of time. And so if you're able to adjust your pricing strategies to compensate, if you're able to have the right marketing strategy, you can still keep your units full even in recession times like this, even in high inflationary times like this, because understand, while people are looking to travel for their needs, you also have the proper property to accommodate those needs exactly, right? And so there's definitely a lot of pivots that you could be making in the short-term rental space to make sure that you are still keeping your units full. I think that anybody who's willing to grow a short-term rental business in times like this will see the most benefit, because I think that right now we're getting to that inflectionary point, because things were riding the wave for at a point in time, and so now things are kind of dwindling, right? Because interest rates are so high and people's buying power is low as interest rates are high. And I'm gonna go ahead and finish that point. As such, that gives you an opportunity to change up your marketing strategy, to change up your pricing strategy. Those two things right there will help you target the people who need to travel, not just who want to travel. Another thing that I think this time period that we're in right now, this inflationary time period, I think is very beneficial for people that are in the short-term rental space, because it opens up a acquisition door that wasn't necessarily there when things were so hot, i.e. enters creative financing. Mm-hmm. So this is another way that you can buy and own your short-term rentals with little to no money out of your pocket, and you will own these assets. While interest rates are high, this means that people's buying power is low. Mm-hmm. And because people's buying power is low, the money that could afford that $500,000 house can now probably only afford a $375,000 house. And because of that, people's property is taking longer to sell. And as such, here you come as not only somebody who's going to buy it, but somebody who's also going to be a problem solver. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if you're looking to do creative financing, if you're not solving a problem, then it's very likely you're not getting that deal. And so this gives another avenue to ownership for short-term rentals, because the intersection between creative financing and short-term rentals is an amazing place to be. And so if you can master creative financing in times like this, in this inflationary period, you will be able to scale your short-term rental portfolio by owning properties creatively. And it's just an amazing intersection right now.
Exactly, because I feel like so many homeowners that are trying to sell their properties, they are facing these problems that there's no people that can't actually afford these homes, or even if they were in the process of almost closing, we have seen so many people that their loans fall because they didn't have all the requirements, or there was another type of problem with the type of loan that they were trying to get. But you as an investor, you get to have the chance to truly help that person that is trying to sell their home and make it into a business, a profitable business.
Absolutely. You got to consider, folks, just like right now we're 2023. Yeah. A few years ago, 3, 4, up to 4 years ago, people were buying properties, interest rate 3%, to 4%. Some people got sub 3% interest rates. And those are the folks that now properties on the market understand that their interest rates were way lower than the interest rates that we're getting quoted right now. So if you have an opportunity to almost double, right? In some situations. So if you have an opportunity to buy it creatively without having to get bank financing and grow your short-term rental portfolio that way, that just increases your margins. That increases your cash flow in your short-term rental business, which, I mean, this is how you can literally scale this business, even in times like this.
For sure. And now, you were also mentioning how even when you're doing all of these modifications to your properties, or as you're acquiring your properties, you got to make sure that you are staying kind of within a certain budget. But what are some of the ways that we can outperform other competitors within our market? Because I know that in order to have your property stand out, you have to invest a little bit of money within that property. But at the same time, within recessionary times, we have seen an increase on all the construction materials. Pretty much everything is a little bit higher on price than what it was before. So what are some of the recommendations that you would give to our audience so they can stay on top of their game without having to expend too much money on them?
So something that hosts can be doing right now, to really something that hosts can be doing right now, I will say this is providing an experience and really understand who you are as an operator. Hone in on your identity as an operator, which will likely require you to hone in on your company culture, which will likely require you to hone in on your processes and your systems and your infrastructure. Because the bigger tragedy outside of Airbnbs being unbooked, outside of Airbnb slowing down, the biggest tragedy on top of that is people and guests booking Airbnb, having a bad experience, and then going to book hotels. Because it's there's a pretty good chance that guest, we've lost them forever to hotels. They're likely not going to come back to book an Airbnb again because they've had bad experience. And a lot of times guests actually are lenient. They extend grace with Airbnb because they understand it's different from a hotel. But what happens is the guests now have consistent bad experiences or inconsistent good experiences. And so what that does is now that moves them over to hotels. And to me, that's the bigger tragedy. So what people can be doing right now is understand who you are as an operator. Hone that in. Make sure that you're providing a good experience for your guests, because that's why I tell people, no matter what's going on, the inflation or whatnot, you're hearing about saturation in the market, there's no shortage of good hosts. There's no shortage of good hosts. There's no shortage of hosts doing this business the right way. We need more good hosts providing good and amazing experience for guests, because the more guests that we have committed and staying in the short-term rental space, then that helps the entire short-term rental ecosystem entirely.
For sure. Like, it doesn't matter what the times look like, economically speaking, you can always try to provide the best service that you can. And for those in our audience that may have made a couple of mistakes when they were dealing with their customers and they kind of messed it up, what are some of the ways that you could encourage them to fix those errors so that way they can keep attracting more customers later on?
So hosts need to understand that they have to check their ego. A lot of times your guests will tell you exactly what's wrong with your listing. Look at the reviews, and instead of letting your ego get in the way, literally pay attention to those reviews and take those recommendations to heart and institute those recommendations. And you'll be surprised, because that's your customer base. If your customer, right, you're only as good as what your customer is going to pay for. You're only as good as how much your customers willing to invest with you and spend with you. So if they're telling you that this is wrong, it may be a good idea to listen to them. It'll be incumbent of you to actually take what their feedback and actually institute it in your property. Because right now, and that's one thing. Because a lot of times life is mostly about how you react to it. Same as the short-term rental space. A lot of times hosts get into things that is, of course, unintentional, and they don't mean to provide a bad experience. They didn't necessarily know certain things happen. But if you're able to come back and rectify it, and you respond to them, and they know that you rectified, this will help retain a lot more guests, not just for your listing, but in the short-term rental ecosystem in general. So like we mentioned earlier, hosts need to understand who they are as operators and make sure that you are putting guest experience at the forefront of your business. This way, this whole entire short-term rental ecosystem will be better for it.
For sure. Thank you so much again, TJ. And thank you to our audience for listening to this podcast. So then again, look at your guests as your business partners, because they are truly helping you grow your business and get the income that you truly desire. We're going to see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.